Is Val Kilmer a whistling spirit out to avenge his wrongful death? Or is he a wizard vampire ghost out for blood and mayhem? Stay tuned and find out! 'Twas the night before Christmas, and not a creature was stirring. Greetings, fellow adventurers, I am the Medieval Nerd, and welcome to NetFlunx Movie Reviews, the series where I highlight the bad and cringy movies that you can watch on Netflix. Today I will be reviewing TheTraveler with Val Kilmer, in which he plays the role of Mr. Nobody, a man who just wanders into a police station on Christmas Eve, claiming he has a confession to make. This movie is quite the treasure trove of confusing and nonsensical content, so please bear with me while I try to highlight the things that struck me the most. TheTraveler has the makings of your average slasher flick with a supernatural twist.
How did you do that?
You'd think that this type of movie is pretty straightforward and would be hard to mess up in terms of plot, but TheTraveler is here to prove us wrong. At the beginning, the movie does a decent job of setting up the backstory. Through a series of flashbacks, you find out that some time ago, Alex Black, the protagonist, suspected Mr. Nobody of having kidnapped his daughter. He then brought him to the station where he coerced the other cops to beat and torture him in order to find out where she was. But it turned out that Mr. Nobody wasn't the one who did it, as the state troopers had already found and killed the real kidnapper. But that was of no help for Mr. Nobody, who had already fallen into a coma. Val Kilmer's character doesn't have his entire backstory revealed right away. It is instead slowly pieced together, serving as a bit of a mystery for the audience. Providing this backstory for Mr. Nobody is perhaps the only thing that the writers managed to do, but ultimately screw it up, as they toss out this entire premise out the window near the end of the movie. I'll get to this clusterfuck in the last part of the review. As the movie unfolds, it never seems to be able to commit to a particular theme. At first, you are served with superstitious references, but those die down and are replaced by biblical ones. But in both cases, they never tie into the story or plot, so in the end, they really just occupy an arbitrary role in the movie, as important as this desk, or perhaps even this light. Well, wait, actually, that light serves a greater purpose since it reacts to the antagonist's powers. But I digress. Speaking of powers, that's another thing I wanted to talk about, and that is the extent of Mr. Nobody's powers. They are quite astounding. It starts off with mundane things like making light bulbs blow up, flicker, but it quickly ramps up to teleportation,
Are you looking for me?
telekinesis, projecting his voice through radio waves. I mean, the list just goes on and on. He can even bend the laws of physics and create portals between two separate locations. I feel like even Sauron would be jealous. In an attempt to tie his powers into the story, they give it a little twist, by making it so that he can only access them through some form of confession. This would actually be a good way to set up a revenge narrative, but they actually managed to fuck that up. So, in these confessions, Mr. Nobody describes how he kills the person, and then his victim experiences it in real time. Even if they were intent on making a horror movie, implying that all these murders are committed by an unseen force makes the scenes always look so campy, it's hard to be genuinely terrified. B-horror movie fans will be right at home. So I'd like to close up this review by going over what I consider to be one of the most shoehorned endings I've seen in a long time. So take note, this will be a rather substantial spoiler. But I'd argue that these types of movies aren't meant to be seen for their amazing plots, but rather for the derivative entertainment that us movie masochists like to draw from them. So with only a few minutes left in the movie, we learn that Mr. Nobody isn't innocent, but actually the one who kidnapped and killed Alex's daughter. Before being killed by Mr. Nobody's confession, Alex then pierces his eardrums and runs to his office. He then hides under his desk where he's inexplicably met by his dead daughter, who apparently knows how to defeat Mr. Nobody. Alex's daughter explains to him that Mr. Nobody basically has the same weakness as Rumpelstiltskin, who then blows through the door with a completely non sequitur Elvis reference.
Just like Elvis.
Alex then uses Mr. Nobody's name to strip him of his powers before blowing him out the window with his shotgun. The movie wraps up with the sun rising and Alex's daughter saying she's gotta go. The end. I can't emphasize enough how much the last few minutes of this movie are truly mind-blowing, because my review of it simply can't do it justice. If you feel like you want to slap yourself in the forehead for a few minutes, then this is your remedy. So that does it for my first NetFlunx review. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or comment. Stay tuned next time when I review The Mooring. Happy holidays, everyone. See you soon.